What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk live stream. Howard Bender here with Adam Ronis, and it is Friday, which means that it is time to take a nice little look at the games this weekend. That's right, NFL Week 13 on the slate. Adam, no Thursday night game. What did you enjoy your Thursday night off, Adam, or were you sitting there more anxious looking at these lines for what's going on this weekend?
I wasn't really off. Did the live stream at 7 p.m. as usual with Jen Piacenti, and then I was on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio at midnight with Fancy on Alarm After Hours. So in between, it was a little weird because we're used to watching football. So it just gives you some more time to make those critical lineup decisions as we await more injury news that keeps filtering out.
Which is definitely going to be the theme of today's live stream, actually, because there are a lot of injuries that we're going to have to deal with and try and figure it out. So, as always, we'll go game by game and we'll highlight some of the things that we need to pay attention to. Let's kick it right off here with the Raiders traveling over to the Jets. Josh Jacobs dealing with the ankle issue. How concerned are you about Jacobs? There's nothing on the Jets side that we really want to talk about. How concerned are you about Josh Jacobs with this ankle? And do you think Devontae Booker plays a more important role this week for fantasy?
Yeah, I feel good about Booker if Jacobs is out. Then I think you can play him. We know that the Raiders want to run the football, although the way to beat the Jets is really via the pass. They're better against the run. But Jacobs didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. So obviously later on today we'll figure out, hopefully get an update on exactly what's going on. I know a lot of people have added Booker in the last couple weeks because we've kind of seen him get an increased role. And, as we've discussed the last few weeks, that's the time to add all these backup running backs with most of the buys gone and you make that playoff push. So, yeah, Booker's going to become a good start if Jacobs is out.
A lot of people going after Booker. I kept spying on my other leagues being like, really? You're going to leave me Henry Ruggs here for nothing? Okay. Right? Aguilar's a little banged up. I feel like Henry Ruggs could have a big breakout game this week against the Jets. Cleveland, Tennessee. This one's going to be an interesting one because you've got Henry on one side, Chubb on the other side. It's two teams who love to run the football. And yet this over-under is 53.5 right now, which is the highest on the slate. And I kind of find that, I would say, a little bit on the interesting side. You figure that, yeah, sure, run heavy means that it'll open things up for play action. But does this game turn into a shootout in the second half?
It's certainly possible. I know the Browns are going to get Myles Garrett back, but Denzel Ward's still out. So their defense not 100%. We know Tennessee is susceptible on the defensive end. So maybe we see points. The number definitely seems a little high, but, obviously Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb are great plays. Ryan Tannehill is better than usual. Even if Henry does something, Tannehill can still be productive. A.J. Brown, you're starting him every week. We know Jonnu Smith's out. Everyone's going to go crazy for Anthony Firkser. You can use him, but if he's going to become really popular, then I might go in a different direction. We have seen Jeff Swaim be a lot more involved, and he actually led the tight end group last week. With Jonnu out, though, you would think Firkser, though, plays an increased role. And I really like Austin Hooper on the other side. He's 3,800 on DraftKings, and the Titans have really struggled against the tight end the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, big fan of Hooper in there, and just added Firkser to the watch list. So both of them sitting there. Yeah, that's it's kind of crazy. So we just did a video for Thrive Fantasy, and there was a prop in the contest for Ryan Tannehill, 240.5 passing yards. It wasn't one of the ones that you picked, but do you have a lean either way on that?
He's always tricky because if they do run the football well and they jump out to the lead, it's going to be tough to get over that number. He's only gone over that number once in the last 6-7 games, man, against Baltimore, where he was at 259. So I'll lean the over, but I don't really feel great about that because he could come up just short of that.
Okay. Speaking about coming up just short, the Bengals are 12-point underdog to the Miami Dolphins. It started off at 11. I saw it creep to 11.5. Now it's at 12. That's a lot of points to give here, but Miami's defense is rock solid. Brandon Allen, not so great. And despite the fact that the Bengals played pretty well against the Giants last week, how do you see this game even just spilling out? Obviously, the Tua versus Fitz aspect is probably leading the lead story.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. We'll find out soon. I think it's going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick, which bodes well for Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki. The backfield for Miami's an absolute mess. Ahmed and DeAndre Washington are listed as doubtful. Matt Breida missed practice today with an illness, and they're not sure about Myles Gaskin. My guess is he does get activated. He's been practicing for a couple weeks, and especially with them being so shorthanded, probably Gaskin gets activated. A good matchup here against the Bengals. So as far as the line, I mean, you could see Miami's defense, special teams get a touchdown or two, and then they cover this line. I mean, it is a huge line for Miami and the way their offense is playing, but their defense is definitely one of the better plays in season long. I just can't. I mean, it depends how salary works. I mean, they're 4,400 on DraftKings as the most expensive defense this week. So if you have the salary, sure. I mean, I never like paying up for a defense that high, but we saw Miami come through with 14 DK points against the Jets. They could do that again in this spot against the Bengals.
Any love for Gio Bernard? Miami's run defense, nothing. No.
I can't, man. I mean, he just hasn't done much. And, I mean, season-long leagues, if you're desperate, sure. I mean, I might have to. But, I mean, he hasn't reached double-digit points in PPR formats in 3 straight games. And I know Pittsburgh was one of them, and Washington, and the Giants' defense has played better. But, I mean, Gio just hasn't been impressive. And he hasn't even reached double-digit carries in the last 3 games. So I'm going to say no.
All right. In the running back co-main event this week, you've got Jacksonville versus Minnesota, Dalvin Cook versus James Robinson, 2 teams who definitely like to establish the run nice and early. Vikings are a 10-point favorite. Obviously, when you look at, Cousins in the passing game versus Glennon in the passing game, and Dalvin Cook versus James Robinson, it tilts over to Minnesota. Your thoughts on this one here? It's also got a pretty high over-under at 51.
Yeah, I think you have to love the Minnesota offense, the way they're playing right now. Obviously, the risk with Cousins is if they jump out to a big lead, we know he's only going to attempt 25 to 30 passes. He's somehow been able to get it done in a couple of those instances recently where he hasn't passed a lot. He's got at least 3 passing touchdowns in 3 of the last 4 games. It's another great matchup. Last week, the Carolina defense scored 2 touchdowns, which kind of forced him to play from behind, and that's why he put the ball in the air 45 times. I don't expect that this week. I look more around 30 pass attempts. But with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen back, I mean, he can get it done. Jefferson's been putting up big plays and big numbers. So, I mean, got to like Cousins this week as a borderline QB1. Probably a little DFS, you can go there. I don't think you want to, though. I mean, he's 6,400 on DK. I don't know if I'm going to play him there because, again, what if they get out to a huge lead? Right. He could get you only 250 and 2 touchdowns. And Kyle Rudolph certainly in play once again because Irv Smith has been ruled out. And Rudolph ran a lot of routes, certainly looked pretty good. And they have a small tree there. They don't really spread the ball around. So especially in season-long leagues, if you're desperate at tight end, if Rudolph wasn't added last week or if you picked him up, he's a borderline tight end 1 this week.
Any love for any of the Jaguars receivers? Let's face it, Minnesota's defense not very strong. DJ Chark is supposed to be back. Colin Johnson, who emerged last week as a favorite target for Mike Glennon. You've also got Laviska Shenault, Keelan Cole also there.
Yeah, Chark's the only guy I feel good about. He is off the injury report, so he is going to play. So Chark would be the guy. And, hopefully Glennon throws to him quite a bit as we saw Luton do it against Houston in week 9 when Chark had 12 targets and had a big game, 7 for 146 and a touchdown. I wouldn't expect that, but Chark is someone I am going to get back in my lineups in season-long leagues.
Colts, Texans. Texans are the underdog here at home, 3.5 points. Colts getting DeForest Buckner back. Danico Autry is back. They're healthy again on defense. It is without a doubt my favorite defense in the NFL, has been all season long. You got the loss of Will Fuller. What are your expectations here? Like, what are your expectations of this passing attack for Houston?
I think it'll be fine. I think a lot of people are downgrading him because Fuller's out, and I understand it's a big loss, but in seasonal leagues, I'm playing Watson, playing Cooks. Aikens certainly looks like he could be used out of the slot. Again, we mentioned already a couple good tight end plays this week, so maybe you don't have to go there. Running backs, it looks like David Johnson's going to be back. Definitely not playing him in DFS. Even season long is a little bit dicey with DeForest Buckner back in this Colts defense. So, and even a DFS, Watson's the third expensive on DK. So I don't think you need to go there in case they do struggle a little bit. I think he'll be okay. He's played great this year. This is one of the tougher matchups they've had in weeks. And on the Colts side, Jonathan Taylor will be back. I think we all believe he's going to get about 20 touches, but we've seen this before. And Michael Pittman is the guy I like most. I know he had a down game last week, but he did have 9 targets, and we know how bad this Texans pass defense is.
Yeah, we do, especially losing Bradley Roby. Also, he was their best cover corner in a pretty suspect secondary. Saints Falcons, they meet for the second time in 3 weeks. Saints are a 3-point favorite on the road. We're still wondering about Julio Jones. Like, how confident are you that Julio Jones plays through this hamstring injury? And let's face it, if he is active for this game, do you start him in seasonal, or do you worry about the fact that he could get pulled out at any moment?
Yeah, it's definitely a concern. I only have him in one league. Probably going to play him. Just got an alert that he's listed as questionable and was limited in practice today. I did see something from him earlier that said he's fine. He ran every route, no pain. But as we've seen, you could be fine, and then one play, you come up limping. So he's definitely a risk, not a must start. I don't have him currently in the rankings. I'll probably put him in as a low wide receiver too. There's a lot of guys you feel more comfortable with. That's kind of that to me. This is one of those gut calls. Like you kind of. Do you like to take risks? Do you like to play it safe? I know it's a critical week for people, but there's definitely risk with him. But we also know we've seen this before where he's fine and has a big game. So that's the thing. This is a low floor where he can get hurt early, and there's still a big ceiling, even though it is a tough matchup against the Saints. Gurley's listed as questionable as well. I don't feel good about him. Their run game hasn't been good, and the Saints defense is good. And on the Saints side, man, people really want to bench Alvin Kamara, man. Sorry, I can't do it. I have him in one league. I'm playing him, man. Look, I know it's bad. We can point to the numbers, and he's not getting the receptions. I kind of have to ignore last week. They knew going in they were not going to have to do anything to beat Denver with Hinton at quarterback. We all knew that. So it made sense. Let's limit Kamara, feed Latavius Murray. Remember, Kamara's been on the injury report the last 2 weeks with a foot injury. So is he top 5 this week? No, but he's still an RB1 for me. You want to use Latavius Murray? You can. I mean, borderline low RB2, RB3, right around, 25, 26. There's one league where I'm contemplating using him. I'm not sure yet. And Michael Thomas, but that's it.
That is it. But you know what? I mean, that low-owned stack of Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara, and Michael Thomas, right? Kamara and Thomas are each only like $7,000 on DraftKings.
Oh, yeah. Kamara's $7K.
And Taysom Hill is priced down there also.
If I would have told you 3 weeks ago that Kamara is going to be the 8th highest priced running back on DK week 13, you would have probably fired me on the spot.
Well, I don't know if I would have fired you. Given you a good talking to.
You would have given me a psych evaluation.
Adam, why don't you sit the next couple of weeks out?
Do you have a concussion?
Somebody get this guy into protocol. Get him into protocol. Unbelievable. All right, next one here. Yes, that's right. It's the Sex Panther Bowl, right? Because 60% of the time it works every time. Detroit, coming off of firing Matt Patricia, promoting Darrell Bevell to the offensive coordinator to head coach. Take it on the Bears. Bears are favored at home -3. But as John Impemba points out on the DFS live, the DFS podcast, which you can find over at fantasyalarm.com, if 65% of the time firing your head coach gets you that win or cover the following week, well, we've seen it twice now this season, which means that's taken up your 66% of the time. So are you increasing your chances in losing by just blindly taking the Lions here?
It's kind of isolated situations to me. It's hard to back Detroit, though, with the way they've looked. At the same time, there's that human element of maybe a lot of people just weren't happy with Patricia and just like feel refreshed and just excited to play football again. But Kenny Golladay likely not going to play. DeAndre Swift cleared concussion protocol, but did not practice today with an illness. And then we did hear Bevel say that if Swift is able to play, it's probably going to be a reduced role like he had early in the year. So that means DFS, no. Season-long leagues, depends on what your options are. I have in a couple leagues, I'll probably play him. But again, I'm going to kind of wait till Sunday, see what kind of information comes out. Maybe he's better on Sunday and they say, yeah, he's good to go, but he didn't practice much this week. But he's always capable of scoring a touchdown. And he's one of those running backs that if he gets 10 touches, he could break a long play. And if Akeem Hicks is out, we know how that makes the Bears defense more vulnerable. So I really don't like much on the Detroit side at all, except Hawkinson, obviously. And it's tough to pay up for him in DFS. Well, maybe. Right. It depends how you build your lineups. Maybe you could afford him at tight end. And then on the Bears side, I know everyone's loving Mitchell Trubisky this week, and it scares the hell out of me, man. I mean, why are we like so confident? Like, can you easily see Trubisky crapping the bed here? I know it's Detroit. I know he has a great history against them. His numbers are great, but it's just like it just scares me, man. I'm using him in a Superflex league. I don't know if I can start him in a QB1. I think I have him ranked 19th or 20. So I've seen other people are very high on him this week. It's just dicey. I mean, your season's on the line and you feel good about Trubisky? I don't know. DFS, different story. I mean, he's cheap. You want to go there. You could stack him with Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson was a late addition to the injury report, left practice early today with a knee issue. Matt Nagy said it's precautionary. They expect him to play. But you got to, if he's healthy and he's good to go, you got to love him in DFS, man. You know, we saw Trubisky get the ball to him. And that's the one thing. Trubisky took shots downfield. And 6,700 for Robinson on DK. So I like that. And yeah, once again, David Montgomery, everyone loves him this week. So what could go wrong there? But look, he did look good against the Packers. He didn't get heavy volume, but he broke that 57-yard run. He had 11 carries for 103 yards. And the one thing with Tariq Cohen out, we have seen him more involved in the pass game, 5 for 40 last week in a touchdown. So look, in cash games, yeah, play Montgomery at 5,500, right? Who cares about the ownership? And if a lot of the field has him, which they probably will at 5,500, you're cool. GPPs, you want to maybe sprinkle them in a lineup or two, maybe fade them some others, fine. But remember, it still is Trubisky and the Bears. So I understand why everyone's excited. It's Detroit. We know how bad they are, but don't be surprised if they disappoint.
I won't be. But yeah, you're right. Montgomery in cash games is going to be an easy one. He's going to have, 50%, 60% ownership because using Montgomery at 5,500 allows you to get Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, or Nick Chubb into your lineup. So gotta love those salary savers, right? Even if it is a Chicago Bear.
It's it's a volume-based decision, man.
Yeah.
Even last week, what do you have? 16 touches in a blowout. I don't expect a blowout here. So you're probably looking at 15, 20 touches again. And we didn't think Montgomery was capable of a 57-yard run, but he did it.
He went out. He got oxygen afterwards. And keep massaging his hammies the entire time. All right, so those are the early games. Let's move on to the late slate here, or the afternoon. Giants taking on the Seahawks in Seattle. This line is now moved up to minus 10.5 for the Seahawks. I mean, Colt McCoy. Carlos Dunlap is now helping the ground defense.
Breaking news. Josh Jacobs is out. Won't make the trip.
Whoa.
And Matt Breida on the COVID-19 list.
Damn.
So if Gaskin doesn't get activated, are we looking at Patrick Laird?
I think we might be. I mean, Salvon Ahmed still a possibility to play.
He's doubtful.
Oh, he's doubtful now?
Him and DeAndre Washington are listed as doubtful.
Patrick Laird season, baby.
There you go. Let me see how much he is at DraftKings. 4K. I don't know, man. I know it's the Bengals, bro, but
that's your flex play because you're going to go Derrick Henry with David Montgomery, and then you're going to put Laird in your flex, and that's going to enable you to get Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen, and Allen Robinson as your starting wide receivers.
You remember what Devontae Adams did last year against Philadelphia? That Thursday night game? he had like 180 yards and left in the third quarter with injury. I know different now because Slay's there, but we saw Slay get destroyed by Metcalf last week. But yeah, so you know what though? Devontae Booker, 5,500, bro. Wow? They must have seen this coming.
Well, I mean, look at the pricing on Alex Madison. Also, he's like 6,600 or something like that. So
69, bro, on DK.
69.
I guess it's kind of good they did that, right? Makes you challenged. Well, yeah, 60. I don't know, man. Those jokes are kind of played out.
Are they though?
They are.
Are they?
They are. I think they are. Everyone does it. It's just I don't know. And I'm the most perverted guy you probably know, or one of them, but I just think it's played out. 2 is listed as questionable. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate that one. All right. So before your breaking news, we were talking Giants Seahawks here. Colt McCoy under center for the Giants. Carlos Dunlap helping the run defense for the Seahawks. Man, I mean, I'll give you here you go. This is one I'm going to give credit to because this will be in the dartboard tomorrow. And I got to throw it by you, but this came from Matt Sells from fantasyalarm.com. Are you ready for this one? Yeah. David Moore. The Giants are the worst defense against opposing wide receiver 3s and 4s, the worst defense against passes to the right side, and Moore lines up on the right more than any other Seattle wideout. He also has 9 red zone targets this year, just 2 behind both Lockett and Metcalf, but he does have a better catch rate inside the red zone than either of them. And then for shits and giggles here, Isaac Yiadom, the corner, likely to cover him, allowing the 10th most fantasy points per route in the league. You getting some David Moore in there or what?
Yeah, I can see it. Again, you're looking to save some salary. He did score last week. They also had a stupid play on 4th and goal where they tried to get him on an end around. So that's what you want, for a dart throw, a guy to have a chance to score a touchdown. So he certainly can. Obviously, Seattle wants to run the ball more. We're seeing that trend occur lately. Russell Wilson is not cooking as much. He's heating things up in the microwave now. So that's the only concern here. And Carlos Hyde, I know didn't practice yesterday. You got to think. I mean, Chris Carson, I don't think you want to use him in DFS until we see him get that 20-carry game. It's certainly possible. You're definitely using him in season long, but something to keep an eye on there with Carlos Hyde.
Yeah. Going back to Miami, by the way, just in from producer John and Pemba. Lynn Bowden played 31% of the offensive snaps last week for Miami.
Yeah, they might only have Laird and Bowden, and we'll see. I mean, if Gaskin's activated, the one thing we've seen with Miami this year, when they've had Ahmed or Gaskin, they'll give them 20 touches. So you never know with a player coming off injury, but they're going against the Bengals, so something to keep an eye on here.
No doubt. All right, let's keep rolling. Rams, Cardinals. Everybody's worried about Kyler Murray. He hasn't looked the same in the last 2 weeks. Cardinals have dropped 3 of their last 4, and the one game that they did win was a Hail Mary pass against the Bills. How do you see this game playing out?
I think the Cardinals win this game. And look, I don't think the Cardinals are that good. I've been saying it all year, but I also have said I don't think the Rams are that good. Rams defense, though, has been excellent this year. It's just I haven't really been impressed with the Rams. Last week they had a chance to, win against San Francisco, and they didn't look good. They just had these games this year. So I just think this is more a critical game for Arizona. They just have not looked good lately. I mean, they could be staring at 4 consecutive losses if it wasn't for that Hail Mary DeAndre Hopkins catch at the end of the game against the Bills. But I just think they're going to bounce back. They're home, and everyone's down on Kyler Murray, worried about the shoulder. Kind of have a feeling Kyler Murray's going to have a big game. It's kind of hard, and no one's going to play him in DFS, and it's understandable. He's the second highest priced quarterback on DK at 7,600, and we've seen him not run the last 2 weeks. And we know if he doesn't run, it's going to be a problem. Only 10 rushing attempts, but I think Arizona is going to produce here, get it done. DeAndre Hopkins probably going to see a lot of Jalen Ramsey. They're familiar with each other throughout their career. Could open things up for Christian Kirk and maybe Andy Isabella. I know he didn't have a huge game last week, but it looks like Larry Fitzgerald won't return. On the Rams side, love Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. I mean, Kupp has a great matchup. Arizona's getting destroyed in the slot. Cam Akers, I don't know. I wouldn't play him in DFS, obviously. Season long, I'm kind of deciding in a couple leagues what to do. I mean, again, yeah, he had 84 yards rushing last week and a run of 61. Still only had 9 carries. We all think he should get most of the touches, but we have yet to see it. So you are kind of risking faith in Sean McVay, and that's not a good thing.
Definitely not a good thing. All right, Eagles, Packers. Packers favored by 8.5. You were just saying Devontae Adams destroyed the Eagles. Even with Darius Slay, we've seen Darius Slay just get chewed up by DK Metcalf. Your thoughts on this game here? I mean, is this the game that Miles Sanders finally gets going here? Because, Green Bay can't stop the run.
Let's hope so, because it's idiotic that he had 6 carries last week. It made no sense, especially with Carson Wentz struggling. See, I don't mind if you go pass heavy with Mahomes, Rodgers, there's a matchup. But Carson Wentz, who not playing well at all, and that made no sense to me. So, yeah, I think Miles Sanders, they have to run the ball with him this week. And it's a good matchup. Again, we alluded to it earlier. David Montgomery, big game against them, only 11 carries, 100 yards. I mean, Miles Sanders could easily do that. So I think they do need to get Sanders the ball. I think he's a solid GPP play. No one's going to play him. 6,700 on DraftKings. So there's definitely risk why it's more a GPP play. But I think you have to consider him. Tight ends, Ertz is going to be back. I don't think that's going to heavily affect Goddard. I mean, Wentz has been looking for him. Goddard's been making big plays, 10 targets last week, consecutive weeks of at least 75 yards. So I think Goddard will be okay. And then on the Packers side, Rodgers is this guy's great this year. His MVP level, 6,800 on DraftKings, 5th highest priced quarterback. I think you play him, man. He should put up big numbers once again with Adams and, Lazard's back and Tunyon. Tunyon scored a touchdown in back-to-back weeks. So, wow, where is? Oh, wow, on DraftKings he's 3,700.
Right?
Wow.
You believe that?
Yeah, look, it looked like he was disappearing from the offense, but he's come along lately. Yeah, it's 5 targets in each of the last 2 games, caught all of them. So he's still in the mix, and we know tight end's a volatile position. But if you're going to take someone, Ty Aaron Rodgers at 3,700, sure. Tight end's going to be interesting this week. It's a position where we never feel confident in, but there's a lot of different ways you can go this week.
Yeah, listen, we've talked Ferkser before. Hooper is a good option here. Rudolph. You just said Tunyon. He's on the cheaper side. Yeah, listen, this is not a position I really want to be paying up for at all.
Yeah, look, the ones that pay up, Waller 6,100, that could easily be a disappointment. Hawkinson at 5, Henry at 48. He's been pretty solid, but yeah, I think this is a week people are going to pay down a tight end and save. Remember, no Travis Kelce on this main slate, so that makes it a little easier to do.
No doubt. All right, let's keep cruising through here. Patriots, Chargers. I want no part of this game. It's Belichick against Anthony Lynn. So you could talk about all the talent in the world on the Chargers team. It's still Anthony Lynn. You're going to have Stephon Gilmore covering Keenan Allen. I don't dig it.
Yeah, look, in season-long leagues, I'm playing Herbert. Maybe Belichick does something different, and we saw Herbert struggle last week and still put up a decent fantasy game. So I'm playing him. I do like Eckler, though. They got to dump it off to him. He's pretty cheap. What is he, 71 on DK? We saw last week how many targets he got, 16. So he had 23.9 with being very inefficient on the ground with 44 yards on 14 attempts. So like Eckler, don't want to go to Keenan, I think, in DFS this week in case, he's 8,100. We were talking about for weeks how cheap he was. Now he's expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, in season-long leagues, though, I'm still going to play Keenan, Hunter Henry, Herbert, Eckler. Patriots, tough to play anyone. Jacoby Myers, but you could see Casey Hayward quite a bit. Yeah, not much on the Patriots side.
All right. Sunday Night Football, it's the Broncos taking on the Chiefs. It's in Kansas City. This one went down from 14 to 13.5. I'm still in on the Chiefs here. Is analysis even necessary, Adam?
No, the one thing Travis Kelce, the Broncos have been good against tight ends. Kelce's first game this year against them, 3 for 31. You know what? I don't care. It's Travis Kelce. He can produce at any time. So you know what you're doing. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not practice today with an illness, so that's something to keep in mind. And on the Denver side, I mean, what, Melvin Gordon and Prey, Noah Fant maybe? I mean, look, they're going to have to pass a lot, but with Drew Lock at quarterback, it's just can't love much in that game.
No, I don't think you can love anything really in that game, at least from the Broncos side. Monday Night Football, Steelers taking on the Washington Football Team. It's in Pittsburgh. Is this a get-right game for them, or should we be concerned about Washington's front seven?
No, I think this is a game to be concerned. This could be a look-ahead game, too. They're coming off a divisional game against Baltimore that was not as easy as we thought. And then next week, they play Sunday night prime time against Buffalo. Washington essentially has like a mini bye here. They haven't played since Thanksgiving. They're good defensively, 36 sacks on the year. So I think this game's going to be close, and Washington keeps it tight. I think you got to like Ben. You know, they've just been throwing the ball a ton. He threw 51 times last week. No one thought that would happen. We don't know about James Conner if he's going to play, but this running game all year has been inefficient. And I've said it for weeks. When you have Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Ebron, Juju, just keep throwing. On the Washington side, I know it's a tough matchup for Gibson, but you got to play him, right? Maybe it's, if you think they play from behind, maybe we see more McKissick this week, but it's definitely a roll of the dice and risky. And McLaurin is the guy there. So pretty much standard in this game.
Pretty much just standard in this game for sure. Bills, San Francisco, you and I, we talked on Wednesday night on the Ante Up podcast that we were looking at San Francisco here. They are now, this line is completely flipped. San Francisco, a couple of days ago, they were getting 2.5. Now they're giving a point. A lot of this money's come in on San Fran. Do they, Mostert, Debo, Ayuk is back. Does Nick Mullins actually deliver a quality game?
I don't know. I'm not going to play Mullins, that's for sure. But we know that they have a lot of receivers that can do something after the catch. So Debo is going to play, and he looked great. You got to play him. Ayuk, we saw him get heavy volume without Debo, so he's a little bit more dicey. I know he's looked good this year. Mostert, should get his 15 to 17 touches. So I think they're in play. And on the Buffalo side, it's a tough matchup for them here. Look, in season-long leagues, you're going to play Josh Allen. He's still a QB1. I know his splits without John Brown haven't been great. You're going to roll Diggs and Beasley. I don't want to play their backfield, man. It's too risky. Now, Zach Moss does get more of the red zone carries, but Josh Allen can score a rushing touchdown. Remember, we only have 2 teams on bye this week. Like, I just don't. You have to be absolutely desperate to play Moss or Singletary. I don't think you can play them.
I don't think you can play him either. Not at all. It's not a ground game that I've been buying into at all. Let's wrap things up here. Cowboys, Ravens. Listen, Ravens defense, dude, going up against your Dallas Cowboys. I'll let you handle the analysis here.
I love J.K. Dobbins this week. It looked like they were starting to go towards him, and then he missed the game with COVID. Gus Edwards didn't do anything special. So if I had Dobbins, I'm rolling with him. Hopefully the Ravens are smart and feed him the football most of the time. They have to win games. There's no time to experiment and do all this committee crap. They're 6-5. They're battling for a playoff spot. Hollywood Brown. I don't know. Probably not
on benches everywhere.
Yeah, we knew that was going to happen, right? We needed Trace McSorley to unlock Hollywood Brown. But yeah, Brown's like in the right around wide receiver 40 to 45 range this week. We don't know about Mark Andrews yet. We don't know about Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson starts, top 10 quarterback against Dallas. Dallas side, look, you can make a case for bench and Zeke, man, depending on what your backfield is. I do like CeeDee Lamb. They struggle in the slot, Baltimore. So CeeDee Lamb is my favorite play on Dallas.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. We're going to wrap things up here today. Obviously, you'll be able to reach Adam at Adam Ronis on the old Twitter machine. Ask him any questions you're going to need. He's also going to be in the chat on Sunday morning, helping answer all your questions there as well. Catch us on the Ante Up podcast. We've been some great shows this past week. A lot of fun stuff going on there. You're not going to want to miss that stuff either. And of course, Adam Ronis on Alarm After Hours every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's what it is. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with Adam and Justin Fensterman. That's going to do it for us here today. Big thanks to John Impemba, our producer. For Adam Ronis, I'm Howard Bender. This is Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk.